Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I'm LJ if you're new here. So today's video is going to be a bronzer, blush, and highlighter tutorial, and I'm gonna be going into like the very nitty-gritty, okay? How to apply bronzer, blush, and highlighter, the different types of brushes, different types of applying it. So I have a makeup for beginners series where I started off with how to prep your skin for makeup, and then I went step to step in like the makeup process, and I said I was gonna stop at contour, but I thought some people don't know the difference between bronzer and contour, and then some people don't know what blush is for and how to apply it and what brushes to use. So I was like, you know what, let me just make a video combining all three because all three go on your cheekbones. So in today's video, I'm just gonna be getting into like very detailed about like bronzer, blush, and highlighters. So if you're interested, keep on watching. But if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and join the LJ family. Hit the bell so you're always notified of a new upload. So without further ado, let's get into the video.
LJ, welcome to a channel where it's poppin'. Welcome to a YouTube.
Hey guys, so today we are talking about bronzer, we're talking about blush, and we're talking about highlighter. So I have a makeup for beginners series, and I said I was gonna cut it off on contour, but I thought, why not talk about bronzer, highlighter, and blush, because we place those things on the same areas. So I wanted to make this video to help those people who want to learn about bronzer, blush, and highlighter and the placements of it, because I honestly believe that the way you place your blush and your bronzer changes the shape of your face, and it's important for you to know like the look you're going for and what to use, and just why you're using it. So we're gonna start off with the bronzer. So bronzer is different from contour because bronzer is used to warm up your skin. It's used to add a little bit of color onto your skin, give you like that sun-kissed look, basically make your skin look real, because we got blood running in our system. We have to look real. And then also blush is used to add a little bit more color to make you look a little bit blushy, a little bit more human, so we're not looking like a zombie, like we're dead, So those are the two reasons why we apply bronzer and blush. And then for highlighter, we add highlighter just to give us a glowy look, to look like really nice and fresh. The amount of highlighter you put depends on like what makeup look you're going for or the type of highlighter you're using. It all depends on like the makeup look you're going for. So you can use like different types. Today I'll be demonstrating with one type, obviously, but I'll also be talking about like the different types of highlighter and how you can use them. So we're gonna start off with bronzer. So bronzer is something that you want to put on top of your contour, right? So you want to use a similar brush that you're using for contour, and if you do apply your contour with a beauty sponge for bronzer, because bronzer is a powder, you don't want to use a beauty sponge to apply your bronzer, you want to use a brush. For bronzer, I like using this Morphe brush. This is the Morphe E4 brush. Any type of angled brush, I like using those for areas of my face that have a bone structure. So like my cheekbones have a bone structure, and that's where we apply bronzer. So I like using this type of brush, and also like around my forehead area because it kind of curves a little bit. I like using an angled brush as well. Another brush that I really like is also the Morphe M527 brush. This is also a good brush for you to apply bronzer, but if you're going for more of a structured look and you want to make the bronzer really sharp, I would say use this. So this is a tapered brush, so it's flat on the sides but very fluffy, like from left to right. So this type of brush, you want to use it to really like sharpen up your bronzer, and I like the texture of this brush. It feels a little bit more like synthetic hairs, and I like that because I think they pick up pigment really well. These two brushes will be brushes that I would recommend. I'm gonna leave this in the description box down below. So there's different types of bronzers. You can use an actual bronzer that says like this is a bronzer, or you can use a powdered foundation that is kind of warm as a bronzer. Like anything powdery, anything that you can use to warm up your skin can be considered a bronzer. It doesn't necessarily have to say a bronzer. So sometimes I use powdered foundations that are too red for my skin as bronzers because they warm up my skin, and sometimes I just use actual bronzers. It's actually easier to use actual bronzers because they just work better. So one of my favorite bronzers that I really like is the Fenty Beauty Sun Stalk'r bronzer. This bronzer is in the shade Mocha Mami, and this is a very common bronzer. I think a lot of people my skin tone love to use this bronzer. So I like bronzers that sort of look red on my skin, so I feel like that really warms up my skin. So you want to get something that's warm. You definitely don't want to get a cool tone bronzer because it's gonna make you look ashy, it's gonna make you look dead. So you want to get one that's really warm. Some brands actually launch bronzers that are cool toned, and I just personally don't think those are bronzers. That's just my opinion. Some people can beg to differ, but to me, honestly, a bronzer is something that warms up your skin, and you can't warm up your skin with a cool tone bronzer. It just doesn't make sense. This is the bronzer I'm gonna be using today. So today I'll be demonstrating with this brush, and then I'll be demonstrating with the Morphe M527 brush. With bronzer, I just like to pick up a little bit of pigment and just kind of like dust off the excess so it's not too much. And with this brush, I just like to angle it like this, making sure the fatter side of the brush is going towards my hairline, and then the slimmer side is coming towards this area right here. The reason why I like to do that is because the bronzer should be the most at the top of your cheekbones, and then as it comes down, it kind of just like fades off a little bit. So I like to just kind of like pat my bronzer in on there first, and you want to go exactly where your cheekbones are. You don't want to go all the way down here because then you're lowering where the bronzer is supposed to be. This area right here is supposed to be just like your jawline and then your cheekbones above. So right where your bone is, you just kind of want to place the bronzer. So I'm not going like this back and forth. I don't like doing that because I feel like it moves my foundation. So I just kind of like to pat it on there. Like I'm literally just placing it on there, and I'm going back and forth like up and down. And as you guys can see, it just like absolutely added warmth onto my skin compared to this side right here. This looks very cool tone. It looks like my actual skin color. And then this just kind of adds in that warmth. So with bronzer, I like placing it on all the areas that I place contour. So like my cheekbones, my jawline, forehead, and my nose contour. So I'm just gonna place some on my jawline, and with my jawline, I do move it back and forth because I feel like that just blends it really well. And you wanna just place whatever's left on the brush. You don't wanna add more because I feel like if you put too much around there, when you look up, somebody will be able to see like the difference between like your jawline and your neck. So for my forehead, I just add a little bit on the brush, and I just place it around this area, so halfway from my eyebrows going out this way. And then whatever's left on the brush, I like to bring it up around this area right here. As you guys can see, there's a really harsh line right there, and you want to get rid of all the harsh lines on your makeup. When harsh lines show, they make your makeup look really unrealistic and not blended. So to blend it, I just like taking whatever's left on the brush and just sort of going on top of that harsh line right there and getting rid of it. You know, this will allow it to blend really well with the powder that I placed under my eye, and it will just get rid of that harsh line and diffuse it. And then you want to go back in with the sponge that you used or brush that you used for the powder, and you just want to kind of like press that in, blend everything together so that it looks nice and seamless. So as you guys can see, you don't see any harsh lines, everything looks blended. In the middle right here, you can kind of see the mixture between the powder and the bronzer. That just diffuses the bronzer to make it look nice and clean. That's how I like to apply it on this side with the Morphe E4 brush. So on this side, I'm going to demonstrate with this brush, which is the Morphe M527 brush, which gives you more of a structured look. This gives you more of a softer look. With this, I just like going back and forth. I'm not patting it. I'm just sort of lightly going back and forth with it. And the reason why I go back and forth with this one rather than this is because the bronzer on this brush, I just place it on the tip. I don't place it all over the brush, so it doesn't really move the foundation as much. So I just like to go back and forth to kind of structure the shape of my cheekbones. And I'm going very lightly. You don't want to go too hard because your foundation is going to move. And then I like to place the bronzer on the side of the brush blush and apply it on my forehead area. I kind of cover up that line right here where the powder is with the bronzer, and then also on my jawline, and I'm literally using what is left on the brush. And this gives it a softer look. Okay, that is it. So as you guys can see, this side looks softer, it looks rounded, and then this one looks more sharp, more defined. You can see the bronzer. So of course I'm gonna go back in with the beauty sponge that I used for the concealer to blend everything together, get rid of the harsh lines. All right, that's it. So my skin looks a little bit warm. It looks like I have a little bit of color onto my skin. That's pretty much it for bronzer. So we're gonna move on to blush. So like I mentioned earlier, blush also adds color onto your skin. So you want a blush that obviously is going to be like warm as well. So you can use a blush that is pink, orange, red, any type of blush that you know you feel like you like, or when you swatch on your hand you're like, oh, this looks really nice on my skin color. So for me, I like blushes that are deep. I sometimes like shimmer blushes, so you can have shimmer blushes, satin finish blushes, cream blushes, or you can have matte finish blushes. So many different types. So you just have to figure out which one you like. During the summer, I like cream blushes more, but because I'm doing this video right after doing bronzer, I figured to just go in with a powdered blush. And powdered blushes are usually the ones that I like using during the winter, during the fall, when this weather is a little bit colder, because I feel like they stay on my skin. But in the sun, powder just tends to be absorbed by my skin, or they just tend to move and they don't stay in place. They start looking very cakey. With blush, I personally like blushes that are either pink or mauve color. I feel like those look better on my skin tone, but I definitely know orange blushes work better on my skin as well, but they just have to be really, really deep and rich. I have a blush video where I talk about like my blush collection and the blushes that I really, really like. I'm gonna link that in the description box down below for those of you guys who are looking for like good ideas of the types of blushes to try. But in this video, I'm gonna be using the BH Cosmetics Cherry Chocolate Truffle Blush Palette. I really, really, really love this blush. I specifically only use one blush color, which is this right here. It's like a strawberry pink color. So there's two types of brushes that I like to use with blush. It doesn't really matter which one you use, but I like to use this Sephora blush. So this is an angle brush as well, so it kind of curves on the side. Very similar to the contour brush, but this one is bigger and fluffier. So with blush, you definitely want to use a fluffy brush because it's going to pick up the pigment and lay it really well on your skin. Another brush that I like using is this Morphe blush brush right here. It's also tapered, but it's really flat at the top. It doesn't like go up like this. So I really like this brush. I think it's perfect for blush because it's very flat, so you can really apply the blush on there really well. So there's different ways you can apply blush depending on your look and also depending on the structure of your face, or maybe just like the shape of your face. So for me, I have like really defined and heavy and big cheeks. Blush is supposed to go on your cheeks, but some people don't have this. So what they do is they just place it from here all the way down here. I personally think if you don't have cheeks, you should not bring your blush all the way right here. If you do have big cheeks like this that hang like this, you want to place the blush over there. And also if you have like a little bit of skin like right here that sag like this, you also want to bring the blush all the way up right there because that's where your cheeks really start and they go all the way up here. So I'm going to be using this Sephora brush because I really love this. And what I like to do is I like to just take a little bit of the pigment at the back of my hand. I like to press this down. This just kind of makes the blush a little bit less pigmented, and you definitely want to build your blush up. You don't want to place too much because when you place too much, it's going to be harder for you to blend it out. I just like placing a small amount, and I start at the apples of my cheeks, which is this area right here, and I place a good amount right there. And then whatever's left on the brush, I like to just bring it all the way up around the area the bronzer is. And I definitely like doing this, like smiling, because it kind of like shapes up my cheeks so I can see like exactly where I need to place it. You just want to go back and forth and really blend it out. If you don't like a blushier look, just leave it like that. You don't have to put too much blush on, just a little bit. But if you're somebody who loves blush like I do, you can definitely go in with more. So as you guys can see, I placed the blush right on the apples of my cheeks. I brought it all the way out and then a little bit around this area right there. And you want to do the same thing for this side. And I love this brush because it's kind of like the perfect shape for my cheeks because it's very flat, but it fits my face. It's not too big, it's not too small. Like, it's the perfect size for my cheeks. And then to blend this blush out, I like to go in with a little bit of powder, and I'm using a brush and I'm literally just going where I applied the powder, just kind of get rid of the harsh lines. And like I mentioned earlier with the bronzer, this helps blend everything out. All right, last but not least, we have highlighters. So this is also one of my favorite parts of makeup because it adds that glow. So with highlighter, you have different types of highlighter. You have powder, you have cream, and you have liquid highlighters. My favorite are powdered highlighters and liquid highlighters. I rarely use any cream highlighters just because I feel like there's really no point. You might as well just use a liquid highlighter. But those are the different types of highlighters that you have. So very similar to the blush, depending on like the type of look that you like, you can use whatever highlighter you like. I also have a video where I talk about like my favorite highlighters, link in the description box. But today's video, I'm going to be demonstrating with my favorite, all-time favorite highlighter, which is the Artist Couture highlighter in the shade Sugar Daddy. This is a loose highlighter. So with loose highlighters, I find them a little bit harder to use because you can apply too much. With highlighter, I'm telling you, like, once you mess up the highlighter, you're done, okay? Because it's gonna be so hard for you to blend out that highlighter. With liquid highlighters, they're a little bit easier to blend, and I like applying liquid highlighters underneath my foundation. If you guys have watched a couple of my videos, you've seen like me using liquid highlighters under my foundation, and it blends easier. But if you're gonna put highlighter after placing powder on your face, like bronzer and blush, it becomes a little bit harder to blend the highlighter. So you want to go in with a very small amount of highlighter. With loose highlighters, they are a little bit easier for you to pick up a lot and place too much. So that's why I like to go in with a very small amount. So with highlighters, there are two types of brushes that I like using. One is this type of brush. So this is the Morphe M501 brush. It is a taper brush. I realize I use a lot of taper brushes. This is also a taper brush, but it's more fluffier. And then I also like using this type of brush, which is called a fan brush. This one is a little bit easier to use for beginners. You definitely want to use this only for loose highlighters, and then with highlighters on a pan, you want to use this. And then if you're gonna apply liquid highlighter or cream highlighter, I would say with cream highlighter, it would be better for you to apply with your finger because it's always easier to use your finger. But if you're not a fan of using your fingers, you can use a beauty blender to apply the liquid highlighter and just kind of blend it out. Definitely use a damp beauty blender with liquid and then your hands with cream. So I like using this brush, and I'm going to use this brush today because I'm using a loose highlighter. What I like to do is I like to take whatever is on the cap. Like when I close this highlighter up and it moves around, it gets a little bit of highlighter right there, and literally that is the only place I take the highlighter, okay? I don't take this highlighter from here because you guys can see that's a lot of pigment and that's gonna be a lot on my skin. So I just like to use whatever is on the cap and just sort of kind of lightly go around and collect all that. And I like to spread it around the brush just so that the pigment is not on one area, and when I place it on my cheeks, it places too much on one side. So I like to focus on the highest points of my cheekbones, which is like right here. So it goes bronzer, blush, and then highlighters. I like to start in the middle because I feel like that's where most pigmentation should be, and then you just want to bring it all the way out and spread it. And then with the highlighter, I also like bringing a little bit around this area right here because it's gonna give you like that natural glowy look. But you wanna place a very small amount. Don't go in with too much around that area. And if you need to add more, you can go ahead and add more. And then once I place the highlighter there, I like to just add a little bit more from the cap and kind of bring it like around this area. And this is gonna give you that look when I turn like this. Kind of see that glow just fading really nicely and melting onto your skin. And one thing I like about this highlighter is if I look straight ahead like this, I don't see the highlighter. It doesn't leave a white cast. Some highlighters will give you that white cast to where it looks really powdery, and I don't like those types of highlighters. So with this highlighter, I like it because when I turn to the side, it gives me that glow, and then when I turn this way, you don't really see it. You don't see any powder at all. And then you can build it up if you want to. So if you want to place more, you can go ahead and just place more. And highlighter is definitely something you want to build up. You don't want to go in with a lot, trust me. And then I also like placing a little bit of highlighter on my nose because I do have that defined button nose. And then I place a little bit at the bridge of my nose. I'm literally just using whatever is left on the brush. And then a little bit on my forehead, just a very small amount. And I'm putting this at the tip of my forehead. I'm not bringing it out this way, just a little bit right here. And you just want to blend it out. And then you can place some on your Cupid's bow right here. And I think this just kind of defines your lips a little bit more. That's the reason why people put it here. Some people put it here so that they can know where to put the lip liner. But I think adding it here just kind of defines your lips, gives it more of that Cupid's bow type of shape. And then once I apply highlighter, loose highlighter specifically, I like to spray my face. The reason why I spray my face is because it allows the highlighter to really melt onto your skin. So if you're using a liquid highlighter, you wouldn't really need to spray your face because it's liquid, so it automatically melts onto your skin. But because this is powder, I want to use something that just helps it kind of like sink into my skin and settle really well on top of my skin. So I'm using the MAC charged water. I really love this, and that's it. So I'm gonna let this dry. I also like using a beauty blender and just kind of like pressing that in onto my skin just lightly. And I don't like to touch the highlighter area because it's gonna move the highlighter, so you just want it to like nicely settle. All right, so as you guys can see, the highlighter is melted. It doesn't look like powder. It definitely looks like a natural glow, and because I blended it, it doesn't really show like, you know, any harshness or anything like that. So yeah, so that's it for this video. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish off the rest of my face, and I'll be back with the final look. Okay, so this is the last and final look of this video. I hope this video was helpful, guys. Like, I hope for those of you guys who wanted to learn like the difference between blush, bronzer, and highlighter, different types, how to apply them, I really hope this video was helpful. And if you found this video helpful, please, please, please don't forget to leave me a big thumbs up because that really helps your girl out a lot. And also subscribe if you haven't already. Join the LJ family. I'll be doing a giveaway very, very soon. As soon as I hit 20K, I'm doing a huge giveaway, and I'm so excited. Thank you guys so much for subscribing and just supporting your girl and commenting and just showing me love. I really, really appreciate it. Yeah, that's it for this video. So I will see you guys in my next video.
KLJ, welcome to a channel where it's poppin'. You better subscribe, got it on lock, yeah. Got it on lock, yeah. We need more likes, more views, yeah. You can leave a comment too. Welcome to our YouTube. Welcome to our YouTube.